Good morning or good afternoon, whenever you're watching this video. Welcome to Grammar and Writing Lesson 4. Here's our vocabulary for the day. Make sure you have your notebook and everything ready to take notes. Our prefix focus for today is micro. Micro. Remember the other day we had macro? Well, what did macro mean? That's right, large or long. So what do you think micro means? That's right, small or minute. That word is minute, not minute, minute, which is just another word for small. Microbus. That's a small vehicle in the shape of a bus. Microbus. So it would be a tiny bus, basically. The automobile company designed a microbus to seat 10 people. Microcosm. Remember last time we had macrocosm, which would be like a large universe, a system of things. Well, this is microcosm. It's a little world. The opposite. The invalid could not leave home. She felt like she lived in a microcosm. Microscope. That's an instrument used to view, to look at very small objects. For example, the scientist viewed the blood cells through a microscope. Replace each blank with the correct vocabulary word. A small world is a... Our team will travel on the blank to the game. The snowflake's crystalline structure was revealed in the... Okay, make sure you have all of your answers. Number 1, a small world is a microcosm. Number 2, our team will travel on the microbus to the game. Number 3, the snowflake's crystalline structure was revealed in the microscope. Today's lesson, we're talking about correcting run-ons. So remember yesterday we talked about fragments, run-ons. We talked about correcting fragments. You add the part that's missing. Well, with run-ons, there are a few other things you do to correct the run-on. Because remember, a run-on, that's 2 or more sentences incorrectly put together as one sentence. To correct them, you need to separate each sentence with a period and a capital letter. That's one method to correcting them. Or you can join the 2 sentences with a comma and a conjunction. That's your connecting word, and, but, or. You could also join 2 closely related sentences with a semicolon. Instead of a comma and conjunction, just use the semicolon. Many people suppose that Henry Hudson was Dutch. He was really English. That is a run-on. So now I want you to correct it. Pause the video. Choose a way to correct it. Okay? If you make it separate sentences, write out your correction if it were separate sentences. Many people suppose that Henry Hudson was Dutch. Period. That's the end of the first one. He was really English. Make sure that you put a capital letter at the beginning of your second sentence. If you were to separate them with commas and conjunctions, many people suppose that Henry Hudson was Dutch, comma, but he was really English. But would be the best conjunction to use because it shows contrast. Semicolon. Many people suppose that Henry Hudson was Dutch, semicolon. He was really English. Any of those solutions would work just fine. How did you do? Did you get those right? I hope so. Let's try another one. My little brother had never eaten a hard-boiled egg before, and so he mistakenly put the whole thing into his mouth, and then suddenly he could not chew or speak. Whew, that's a lot, right? That's a mouthful. We got to separate that. Now this one is 3 sentences stuck together. So for this particular exercise, when it comes to separating them, I want you to focus on separating how you would separate, I believe, oh, hang on. Well, focus on how you would separate them so that it would be the most understandable. I'm going to follow one basic method. You'll see what I mean in just a minute. All right, so if you want to make them separate sentences. My little brother had never eaten a hard-boiled egg before. Period. Take out the and so completely. You don't need it anymore. He mistakenly put the whole thing into his mouth. Period. End of your thought. Take out the and then. You don't need that. Capitalize suddenly. Suddenly, he could not chew or speak. How'd you do? Did you get that one right? Okay, now correct it with a comma and conjunction. You can leave one as like a separate sentence. Just correct one with a comma and conjunction. You don't want to use a comma and conjunction in between all three of them. Here's what I mean. My little brother had never eaten a hard-boiled egg before, period. He mistakenly put the whole thing into his mouth, comma, and suddenly he could not chew or speak. You wouldn't want to put a comma in conjunction where I have the period and he, just because it would be a little too much. Just separate the two sentences with comma and conjunction, create a separate sentence with the third. You could have done that the other way around and separated the second and third sentence and put the comma in conjunction with the first and second sentence, but I just chose to do it that way. If you chose to do it the other way, that's fine. Semicolon. My little brother had never eaten a hard-boiled egg before, period. He mistakenly put the whole thing into his mouth, semicolon. Suddenly he could not chew or speak. Now again, if you chose to do that the other way around and you said hard-boiled egg before, semicolon, he mistakenly, and then you had put the whole thing into his mouth, period, capitalized suddenly, he could not chew or speak, that would work as well. But you wouldn't want to put a semicolon in between all three sentences. That, again, that's a little too much. You should really only have the two sentences put together as one. All right, your homework for today is Language C pages 21 through 22. Make sure that you're reading those blue boxes, that you're making sure you fully understand the topic, and letting me know if you have questions.